Dinner time, Jeremiah 28. And it came to be in that year, at the beginning of the reign of Sidkiah, sovereign of Yehudah, in the 4th year, and in the 5th new moon, that Hananiah, son of Azor, the prophet, who was from Gibeon, spoke to me in the house of Jehovah, in the presence of the priest and of all the people, saying, Thus spoke Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, saying, I have broken the yoke of the sovereign of Babel. Within 2 years I am going to bring back to this place all the vessels of the house of Jehovah, that Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, removed from this place and took Babel. And I am going to bring back to this place Jeconiah, son of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudah, with all the exiles of Yehudah who went to Babel, declares Jehovah. For I am going to break the yoke of the sovereign of Babel. Then the prophet Yirmiah spoke to the prophet Hananiah in the presence of the priest and in the presence of all the people who stood in the house of Jehovah. And the prophet Yirmiah said, Amen. Jehovah, do so. Jehovah, establish your words which you have prophesied, to bring back the vessels of the house of Jehovah and all the exiles from Babel to this place. Only hear now this word that I speak in your hearing and in the hearing of all the people. The prophets who have been before me and before you of old prophesied against many lands and great reigns of battle and of evil and of pestilence. The prophet who prophesies of peace, when the word of the prophet comes to pass, that prophet is known as one whom Jehovah has truly sent. And Hananiah the prophet took the yoke off the prophet Yirmiah's neck and broke it. And Hananiah spoke in the presence of all the people, saying, Thus said Jehovah, so I shall break the yoke of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, from the neck of all the nations within 2 years. And the prophet Yirmiah went his way. And the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiah after Hananiah the prophet had broken the yoke from the neck of the prophet Yirmiah, saying, Go and speak to Hananiah, saying, Thus said Jehovah, you have broken the yokes of wood, but you shall make yokes of iron instead. For thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, I have put a yoke of iron on the neck of all these nations to serve Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and they shall serve him, and I also give him the beasts of the field. And the prophet Yirmiah said to Hananiah the prophet, Listen, please. Hananiah, Jehovah has not sent you, but you have made this people trust in falsehood. Therefore thus said Jehovah, See, I am sending you away from the face of the earth. This year you shall die, for you have spoken apostasy against Jehovah. And Hananiah the prophet died the same year in the 7th new moon. And these are the words of the letter which Yirmiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem to the rest of the elders of the exile, and to the priests, and to the prophets, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had exiled from Jerusalem to Babel. After Jeconiah the sovereign, and the sovereign's mother, and the eunuchs, and the heads of Yehudah in Jerusalem, and the craftsmen and the smiths had gone into exile from Jerusalem, by the hand of Elisah son of Shaphan, and Gemariah the son of Hilkiah, whom Sidkiah sovereign of Yehudah sent to Babel, to Nebuchadnezzar the sovereign of Babel, saying, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, Elohim of Israel, to all the exiles whom I exiled from Jerusalem to Babel, build houses and dwell in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit. Take wives and bring forth sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, and let them bear sons and daughters, and be increased there and not diminished. and seek the peace of the city where I have exiled you, and pray to Jehovah for it, for in its peace you have peace. For thus said Jehovah of hosts, Elohim of Yisrael, let not your prophets and your diviners who are in your midst deceive you, neither listen to the dreams which you are dreaming. For they are prophesying falsely to you in my name. I have not sent them, declares Jehovah. For thus said Jehovah, when 70 years are completed at Babel, I shall visit you and establish my good word toward you to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I am planning for you, declares Jehovah, plans of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and an expectancy. Then you shall call on me, and shall come and pray to me, and I shall listen to you. And you shall seek me, and shall find me, when you search for me with all your heart. And I shall be found by you, declares Jehovah. And I shall turn back your captivity, and shall gather you from all the nations, and from all the places where I have driven you, declares Jehovah. And I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you, because you have said, Jehovah has raised up prophets for us in Babel. Thus said Jehovah concerning the sovereign who sits on the throne of David, concerning all the people who dwell in this city, and concerning your brothers who have not gone out with you into exile. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, see, I am sending on them the sword, the scarcity of food, and the pestilence. And I shall make them like spoilt figs, so spoilt as to be uneatable. And I shall pursue them with the sword, with scarcity of food, and with pestilence. And I shall make them a horror among all the reigns of the earth, to be a curse, and an astonishment, and a hissing, and a reproach among all the nations where I have driven them. For they did not heed my words, declares Jehovah, which I sent to them by my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them, yet you did not listen, declares Jehovah. You, therefore, hear the word of Jehovah, all you exiles, whom I have sent from Yerushalayim to Babel. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, concerning Ahab, son of Kolaiah, and Sidkiyahu, son of Maaseiah, who are prophesying falsely to you in my name. See, I am giving them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and he shall strike them before your eyes. And because of them, all the exiles of Yehuda who are in Babel shall use a curse, saying, Jehovah make you like Sidkiyahu and Ahab, whom the sovereign of Babel roasted in the fire, because they have done wickedness in Israel, and committed adultery with their neighbors' wives, and have spoken a word in my name falsely, which I have not commanded them. And I am he who knows, and a witness, declares Jehovah. And speak to Shemayahu and Nehelamite, saying, Shemayahu the Nehelamite, thus speaks Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, saying, because you have sent letters in your name to all the people who are at Yerushalayim, to Zephaniah, son of Maaseiah, the priest, and to all the priests, saying, Jehovah has made you priest instead of Jehoiada, the priest. So there are overseers in the house of Jehovah, over everyone who is mad and makes himself a prophet, that you should put him in the stocks and in the iron collar. So why have you not reproved Yirmiyahu of Anathoth, who makes himself a prophet to you? For he has sent us in Babel, saying, this captivity is long. Build houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat their fruit. And Zephaniah the priest read this letter in the hearing of Yirmiyahu the prophet. Then the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, send to all those in exile, saying, thus said Jehovah concerning Shemaiah the Nehelamite, because Shemaiah has prophesied to you, and I have not sent him, and he has made you trust on falsehood, Therefore thus said Jehovah, see, I am bringing punishment upon Shemaiah, the Nehelamite, and his seed. He shall have no one to dwell among this people, nor is he to see the good that I am about to do for my people, declares Jehovah, because he has spoken apostasy against Jehovah. The word that came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, saying, thus spoke Jehovah Elohim of Israel, saying, write in a book for yourself all the words that I have spoken to you. For look, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall turn back the captivity of my people Yisrael and Yehudah, declares Jehovah, and I shall bring them back to the land that I gave to their fathers, and let them possess it. And these are the words Jehovah spoke concerning Yisrael and Yehudah. For this is what Jehovah said, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turn pale? Oh, for great is that day, there is none like it. And it is the time of Yaakov distress, and he shall be saved out of it. And it shall be in that day, declares Jehovah of hosts, that I break his yoke from your neck, and tear off your bonds, and foreigners no more enslave them. And they shall serve Jehovah their Elohim, and David their sovereign, whom I raise up for them. And you, do not fear, O Yaakov my servant, declares Jehovah, nor be discouraged, O Yisrael. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return and have rest and be at ease, with no one to trouble him. For I am with you, declares Jehovah, to save you. Though I make a complete end of all the nations where I have scattered you, yet I do not make a complete end of you, but I shall reprove you in judgment, and by no means leave you unpunished. For thus said Jehovah, your breach is incurable, your wound is grievous. No one pleads your cause to bind up. There are no healing medicines for you. All those loving you have forgotten you. They do not seek you. For I struck you as an enemy strikes, with cruel chastisement. Because your crookedness is great, your sins have increased. Why do you cry about your breach? Your pain is incurable. Because of your many crookednesses, because your sins have increased, I have done this to you. However, all those who devour you shall be devoured, and all your adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And those who exploit you shall be exploited, and all who prey upon you I shall make a prey. For I restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, declares Jehovah. For they have called you an outcast, saying, this is Sion, no one is seeking her. Thus said Jehovah, see, I turn back the captivity of Yaakov, tents, and have compassion on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon its own mound, and the places stand on its right place. And out of them shall arise thanksgiving, and the voice of those who are laughing. And I shall increase them, and they shall not diminish. And I shall esteem them, and they shall not be small. And his children shall be as before, and his congregation shall be established before me, and I shall punish all who oppress them. And his prince shall be from him, and his ruler shall come from among him, and I shall bring him near, and he shall approach me. For who is this who pledged his heart to approach me, declares Jehovah. And you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. See, the storm of Jehovah shall go forth in a rage, a whirling storm. It bursts upon the head of the wrong. The burning displeasure of Jehovah shall not turn back until he has done and established the purposes of his heart. In the latter days you shall understand it. At that time, declares Jehovah, I shall be the Elohim of all the clans of Yisrael, and they shall be my people. Thus said Jehovah, A people escaped from the sword, found favor in the wilderness, Yisrael, when it went to find rest. Jehovah appeared to me from afar, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I shall draw you with loving commitment. I am going to build you again, and you shall be rebuilt, O maiden of Yisrael. Again you shall take up your tambourines, and go forth in the dances of those who rejoice. Again you shall plant vines on the mountains of Shomaron. The planters shall plant and treat them as common. For there shall be a day when the watchmen cry on Mount Ephraim, Arise and let us go up to Sion, to Jehovah our Elohim. For thus said Jehovah, Sing with gladness for Yaakov, and shout among the chief of the nations. Cry out, give praise and say, O Jehovah, save your people, the remnant of Yisrael. See, I am bringing them from the land of the north, and shall gather them from the ends of the earth, among them the blind and the lame, those with children and those in labor, together, a great assembly returning here. With weeping they shall come, and with their prayers I bring them. I shall make them walk by rivers of water, in a straight way in which they do not stumble. For I shall be a father to Yisrael and Ephraim, he is my firstborn. Hear, O words of Jehovah. Hear the words of Jehovah, O nations, and declared in the isles afar off, and say, He who scattered Yisrael gathers him, and shall guard him as a shepherd his flock. For Jehovah shall ransom Yaakov, and redeem him from the hand of one stronger than he. And they shall come in, and shall sing on the height of Sion, and strain to the goodness of Jehovah, for grain and for new wine and for oil, and for the young of the flock and the herd. And their beings shall be like a well-watered garden, and never languish again. Then shall a maiden rejoice in a dance, and young men and old together. And I shall turn their mourning to joy, and shall comfort them, and shall make them rejoice from their sorrow. And shall fill the being of the priest with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, declares Jehovah. Thus said Jehovah, a voice was heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, because they are no more. Thus said Jehovah, hold back your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for there is a reward for your work, declares Jehovah. And they shall return from the land of the enemy. And there is expectancy for your latter end, declares Jehovah, and your children shall return to their own country. I have clearly heard Ephraim lamenting. You have chastised me, and I was chastised, like an untrained calf. Turn me back, and I shall turn back, for you are Jehovah my Elohim. For after my turning back I repented, and after I was instructed I struck myself on the thigh. I was ashamed, even humiliated, for I bore the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim a precious son to me, a child of delights? For though I spoke against him, I still remember him. That is why my affections are deeply moved for him. I have great compassion for him, declares Jehovah. Set up signposts, make landmarks, set your heart toward the highway, the way in which you went. Turn back, O maiden of Israel, turn back to see these cities of yours. Till when would you turn here and there, O backsliding daughter? For Jehovah has created what is new on earth, a woman encompasses a man. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, let them once again say this word in the land of Yehuda, and in its cities when I turn back their captivity. Jehovah bless you, O home of righteousness, mountain of set apartness. And Yehuda and all its cities, farmers, all those who journey with flocks shall dwell together. For I shall fill the weary being, and I shall replenish every grieved being. At this I awoke and looked around, and my sleep was sweet to me. See, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, that I shall sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehudah with the seed of man and the seed of beast. And it shall be that as I have watched over them to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, so I shall watch over them to build and to plant, declares Jehovah. In those days they shall no longer say, the fathers ate sour grapes, and the children's teeth are blunted. But each one shall die for his own crookedness. Whoever eats sour grapes, his teeth shall be blunted. See, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall make a renewed covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Yehudah, not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I strengthened their hand to bring them out of the land of Mizraim, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Jehovah. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Jehovah. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts, and write it on their hearts. And I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor, and each one his brother, saying, Know Jehovah. For they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Jehovah. For I shall forgive their crookedness, and remember their sin no more. Thus said Jehovah, who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moon and the stars for light by night, who stirs up the sea, and its waves roar. Jehovah of hosts is his name. If these laws vanish from before me, declares Jehovah, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus said Jehovah, if the heavens above could be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I would also cast off all the seed of Israel, for all that they have done, declares Jehovah. See, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, that the city shall be built for Jehovah from the tower of Hananel to the corner gate, and the measuring line shall again extend straight ahead to the hill Gareb. Then it shall turn toward Goah. And all the valley of the dead bodies, and all the ashes, and all the fields, as far as the Wadi Kedron, to the corner of the horse gate toward the east. It is set apart to Jehovah. It shall not be plucked up or thrown down any more forever. The word that came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah in the 10th year of Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehudah, which was the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar. Now at that time the army of the sovereign of Babel besieged Yerushalayim, and Yirmiyahu the prophet was shut up in the court of the guard, which was in the house of the sovereign of Yehudah. For Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehudah, had shut him up, saying, Why are you prophesying, saying, Thus said Jehovah, See, I am giving this city into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and he shall take it. And Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehudah, shall not escape from the hand of the Kasdim, but certainly be given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and shall speak with him face to face, and see him eye to eye. And he shall lead Sidkiyahu to Babel, and be there until I visit him, declares Jehovah. Though you fought with the Kasdim, you shall not prosper. And Yirmiyahu said, The word of Jehovah came to me, saying, See, Hanamael, son of Shallum, your uncle, is coming to you, saying, Buy my field which is in Anathoth, for the right of redemption is yours to buy it. So Hanamael, my uncle's son, came to me in the court of the guard according to the word of Jehovah, and said to me, Please buy my field that is in Anathoth, which is in the land of Benjamin, for the right of inheritance is yours, and the redemption. Buy it for yourself, and I knew that this was the word of Jehovah. And I bought the field, which was at Anathoth, from Hanameel, my uncle's son, and weighed it out to him, the silver, 17 shekels of silver. And I signed the deed and sealed it, took witnesses, and weighed the silver in the scales. Then I took the deed of purchase, that which was sealed according to the command and law, and that which was open. And I gave the deed of purchase to Baruch, son of Neriah, son of Maaseiah, in the presence of Hanameel, my uncle's son, and in the presence of the witnesses who signed the deed of purchase, before all the Yehudim who sat in the court of the guard. And I commanded Baruch before their eyes, saying, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, take these deeds, both this deed of purchase which is sealed, and this deed which is open, and put them in an earthen vessel, so that they remain many days. For thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, houses and fields and vineyards shall again be bought in the land. And after I had given the deed of purchase to Baruch, son of Neriah, I prayed to Jehovah, saying, Ah, Master Jehovah, see, you have the heavens and the earth by your great power and outstretched arm. There is no matter too hard for you, who show loving commitment to thousands and repay the crookedness of the fathers into the bosom of their children after them. The great, the mighty El, Jehovah of hosts is his name. Great in counsel and mighty in work, for your eyes are open to all the ways of the sons of men, to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his deeds. For you have set signs and wonders in the land of Mizraim, to this day and in Israel and among other men, and you have made yourself a name, as it is this day. And you have brought your people Yisrael out of the land of Mizraim, with signs and wonders, with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, and with great fearsome deeds. And you gave them this land, of which you swore to their fathers to give them, a land flowing with milk and honey. And they came in and possessed it, but they did not obey your voice, nor did they walk in your Torah. They did not do all that you commanded them to do. So you brought all this evil upon them. See the siege mounds. They have come to the city to take it, and the city has been given into the hand of the Kasdim, who fight against it, because of the sword and the scarcity of food and the pestilence. And what you have spoken has come about, and look, you see it. Yet you, O Master, Jehovah, have said to me, buy the field for silver, and take witnesses, although the city has been given into the hand of the Kasdim. Then the word of Jehovah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, See, I am Jehovah, the Elohim of all flesh. Is there any matter too hard for me? Therefore thus said Jehovah, See, I am giving this city into the hand of the Kasdim, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and he shall take it. And the Kasdim who fight against this city shall come and set fire to this city and burn it. And the houses on whose roofs they burned incense to Baal and poured out drink offerings to their mighty ones to provoke me. For the children of Israel and the children of Yehudah have done only evil before me from their youth. For the children of Israel have only provoked me with the work of their hands, declares Jehovah. For this city has been a cause for my displeasure and my wrath from the day that they built it, even to this day, that I should remove it from before my face. Because of all the evil of the children of Israel and the children of Yehudah, which they have done to provoke me, they, their sovereigns, their heads, their priests, their prophets, and the men of Yehudah, and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim. And they have turned their back to me, and not their face. Though I taught them, rising up early and teaching them, they did not listen to receive instruction. And they set their abominations in the house which is called by my name, to defile it. And they built the high places of Baal, which are in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to offer up their sons and their daughters to Moloch, which I did not command them, nor did it come into my heart, that they should do this abomination, to make Yehudah sin. And now thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel, concerning this city of which you say, it shall be given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel by the sword, and by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. See, I am gathering them out of all the lands where I have driven them, in my displeasure and in my wrath, and in great rage. And I shall bring them back to this place, and shall let them dwell in safety. And they shall be my people, and I shall be their Elohim. And I shall give them one heart and one way, to fear me all the days, for the good of them, and of their children after them. And I shall make them an everlasting covenant with them, that I do not turn back from doing good to them. And I shall put my fear in their hearts, so as not to turn aside from me. And I shall rejoice over them to do good to them, and shall plant them in this land in truth, with all my heart and with all my being. For thus said Jehovah, as I have brought all this great evil on this people, so I am bringing on them all the good that I am speaking to them. And fields shall be brought in this land of which you are saying, it is a wasteland without man or beast. It has been given into the hand of the Casdim. Fields shall be bought for silver, and deeds signed and sealed, and witnesses be called in the land of Benjamin, and in the places around Jerusalem, and in the cities of Yehudah, and in the cities of the mountains, and in the cities of the low country, and in the cities of the south. For I shall turn back their captivity, declares Jehovah.